Hello, this is Raymond, Jonathan, and Zachary with a FRQ presentation. The free response question is worth 15% of the AP Euro exam score. So if you're looking forward to taking a AP exam by the end of this course, you will need to master the skills to write this type of essay. And this is exactly why we are here to help you through the first prompt of the upcoming FRQ, so you can have a peaceful Thanksgiving break.
So the first step in answering an FRQ is to figure out what your question is asking. So our question is asking Eastern European absolutism versus Western European absolutism, and what is the most significant difference? So there's two different areas of absolutism. As that question says, there's Western and there's Eastern. So we have to figure out how are they different and which difference is the most important. So some of the ways that they differ are how they control their nobility, where the monarchs drew their power from, the level of their thinking and how enlightened it was, and the use of religion in their governance. So then we have all these differences. We have to figure out what is the most significant difference. So you can figure out which difference is the most significant by sort of seeing what role it played in the fall and the rise of those absolute monarchs. So we thought that the most significant difference was that Eastern absolute monarchs cooperated with the nobility, but Western absolute monarchs eliminated the power of the nobility directly. And you can't just say this, you have to establish a line of reasoning. So we said that Eastern absolute monarchs granted concessions to the nobility, however, Western absolute monarchs used Versailles to subjugate the nobility.
Okay, so before we move on to evidence, we'll go over the context or ideas for context. So, our first idea for contextualization for this topic of absolute monarchs is commercial revolution in the 16th century that was exclusively experienced in Western Europe, which wasn't in Eastern Europe. Additionally, for the second context, the pre-existence of new monarchs starting in the 15th century in the West are a key part that contributed to the Western European absolute monarch's uniqueness, as these new monarchs in the West provided a foundation for their later rising absolute monarchs that the Eastern monarchs did not have.
Next up, here are three examples of evidence that you can use. One evidence is Versailles of France, or more specifically, the Hall of Mirrors. Versailles is a city built by Louis XIV that is intended to be a trap for all French nobilities. And in Versailles, through overwhelming the nobles with entertainment, Louis was able to convince them to move away from their home and submit their authority to the crown, and therefore helping Louis to grant all his power to achieve his single rule over France. Secondly, the table of ranks remarked the uniqueness in Russian's absolutism development. With the table of ranks, Peter the Great compromised with the nobles by legalizing serfdom and therefore have them to work in the state government. Another unique method that Peter the Great used to persuade his nobles to submit their power is by imposing Western culture upon them. Like we can see on this image, Peter is cutting the noble's beard, which is symbolic for their traditional Russian culture, which for the nobilities is a connection to their initial noble status. And by cutting those off, Peter the Great is essentially disconnecting nobles with their initial status and therefore helping him to redefine the noble status with their ranks in the state government, and therefore remarks another difference with Louis XIV.
And lastly, for complexity, we chose to look at an alternate solution to the question. So, a less significant difference between the development of Western and Eastern absolutism was the religious toleration. So, Eastern monarchs utilized the exiled Protestant scholars from the less tolerant Western monarchs in order to help develop their own states. This is a less significant difference because the opposing of nobilities were what prevented the new monarchs from achieving absolutism earlier, therefore showing that absolute monarchs needed to make the nobility submit their power, and this shows how it is less important.
I hope you guys enjoyed listening to our presentation, and I wish you all the best of luck on your FRQ. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Bye, guys.